Good afternoon. I'm Israeli government spokesman Avi Hyman. Today is Monday, the 8th of April, 2024, day 185 of the October 7th War. 105 days on, our determination to achieve our war aims remains the same. Bring home the hostages, destroy Hamas, ensure that Gaza never becomes a threat to us again. I want to start today with an update on our casualties from this war. IDF fatalities since the start of the October 7th massacre have unfortunately risen to 604. That is up 4 since our last briefing. The Prime Minister said yesterday, and I quote, "The price that we've had to pay has been painful and high. In the past day, 4 of our heroic fighters have fallen in Khan Yunis: Captain Ido Baruch, Sergeant Amitai Eben Shoshan, Sergeant Rif Harush, and Sergeant Eli Zair. On behalf of myself and the citizens of Israel, I send heartfelt condolences to the families that have lost their loved ones in this difficult war." End quote. Captain Ido Baruch was 21 from Tel Mond. Sergeant Amitai Even Shoshan was 20 from Moshav Azriel. Sergeant Rif Harosh was 20 from Kibbutz Ramat David. And Sergeant Eli Zair was 20 from Gush Etzion. 6 months on, it appears that Hamas has managed to break many a moral compass. There is no moral equivalence between Hamas, who actively target and kill civilians, with the actions of the IDF, who does its utmost to avoid civilian casualties. While we mourn every accidental civilian death, Hamas celebrates them. For Israel, civilian casualties are a tragedy. For Hamas, civilian casualties are a strategy. If you wouldn't take an Al-Qaeda or ISIS figures on face value, why would you take Hamas's? On the 6-month anniversary of the war, the Prime Minister laid out our achievements. He said, "We have eliminated 19 out of 24 battalions, including senior commanders. We have killed, wounded, or captured a large number of Hamas terrorists. We have cleared out Shifa and other terrorist command centers as well. We have destroyed rocket factories, command centers, and weapons arsenals. And we are continuing to systematically destroy underground installations." End quote. I can confirm that we have killed more than 13,000 terrorists. On the hostages, the IDF rescued the remains of Elad Katsir, who was murdered by Islamic Jihad. Hamas and Islamic Jihad still holds 133 hostages. The Prime Minister said, "As of today, we have returned 124 hostages, and we are committed to returning them all home. There will be no ceasefire without the return of our hostages." End quote. And now an update from Kogat. A steady flow of humanitarian aid continues to be inspected and transferred into Gaza. In the last 24 hours, 322 trucks of humanitarian aid entered Gaza, the highest number of aid trucks to enter Gaza in a single day since the start of the war. Now that brings us to the end of today's briefing. I will now take your questions. I ask, as always, that you state your name and your outlet in the chat box.
Thank you. First question from Joel Pollock at Breitbart News. Was the withdrawal of forces from southern Gaza a response to American pressure?
Joel, thanks very much for the question. We're getting it a lot today. Let me just say that we try not to speak too much about the movement of our soldiers, obviously for their safety. What I will say is that the movement of those soldiers doesn't indicate anything special. We are committed to our war aims, to destroy Hamas, to bring home the now 133 hostages, and to ensure that Gaza doesn't pose a threat to us anymore. We will continue on with that mission. We will continue on to Rafah to destroy the last four Hamas military terror battalions. So I wouldn't read too much into the fact that we've moved soldiers in or out of anywhere. I'll remind everyone that we are living in a tiny, tiny country. We can move soldiers in and out very easily and very quickly.
Thank you. Question from Rob Schmitz at NPR. How many soldiers with the Nahal Brigade remain in Gaza?
Again, I'm not going to comment specifically on numbers of soldiers, on movements of soldiers. Obviously, one of our primary aims as Israelis is to ensure that all of those soldiers come home safe and sound. Any specific questions of that nature, I would ask that you turn to the IDF Spokesman's Unit, although I'm pretty sure that they too will not comment to that extent.
Question from Henrietta from Reuters. How is the Gaza ceasefire proposal different from previous ones, and what has Israel offered that it has not offered before? And also, what new crossings have reopened for aid delivery into Gaza?
There's a lot of questions. I'll try and take them one at a time. Firstly, as far as hostage release talks are concerned, I'm not going to comment on reports in the media. I think the most important thing is that the right people are in the right place at the right time to discuss a way in which the 133 Israeli hostages can be released. This is a crime against humanity that men, women, children and babies are being held against their will by Hamas. And I will remind the world that this war could end right now without negotiations, without talks in Cairo or anywhere else. This war could end right now with Hamas putting their hands in the air, waving a white flag, and committing and releasing the 133 hostages. They need to be home with their families right now. As far as humanitarian aid is concerned, we did open up what is called the 9-6 crossing to the north. Aid is coming through at a fast rate through multiple crossings, and also by air and by sea. So we will continue with our mission to destroy Hamas while ensuring as much humanitarian aid to the civilians of Gaza. Our fight is with Hamas, not the people of Gaza. That was the case from the beginning of the war, and that will obviously continue.
Thank you. Another question from Joel Pollack at Breitbart News. Is Israeli society united enough to continue the Gaza war effort in the face of pressure from the world to stop?
You know, for Israelis, and obviously I speak to many Israelis on a daily basis, for Israelis, today is March 185th. We still feel the pain. We still feel the anguish. We still remember the sights and the smells of October 7th. And we know that the only way to ensure that October 7th doesn't happen again is to destroy Hamas. So we will plow on with our mission to destroy Hamas.
Thank you. Question from Hannah Julian at the Jewish Press. If a ceasefire hostage deal is reached, will Israel abandon the goal of eliminating Yahya Sinwar and Mohammed Daif and other Hamas leaders?
My Prime Minister has said on multiple occasions, we're not going for half of Hamas, we're not going for 3/4 of Hamas, we're going for all of Hamas. We will do our very utmost to ensure the speedy, I dare say immediate, release of the hostages. We have been working to that end from day one of the war. The current situation, as much as I can speak about it as far as negotiations are concerned, is that Hamas, once again, are holding up negotiations. It is not us. We're hopeful that we can get to a deal to release those hostages that should be home with their families, should have been home with their families long ago. But that doesn't in any way affect the other war aim, which is to destroy Hamas. We will continue with our mission to destroy Hamas. The Prime Minister was very clear about that in his statements yesterday about Rafah. We will continue on to Rafah. We will destroy Hamas.
Thank you. A second question from Hannah Julian. The ARs Crossing is amongst those that were reported to be opened at the request of the White House. But that crossing is usually one used for human traffic. Has it been converted for the use of food trucks and delivering aid?
So I've certainly seen those reports. I don't have anything major to add on it. I mean, I can say what you've just said is that originally the ARs Crossing was in fact a pedestrian crossing. There are various discussions being had about ways to improve our ability to get aid to the people that need it and to avoid Hamas from stealing it. And we're working on that constantly on a day-to-day basis. I will say that the problem of aid, it's not been a problem of getting aid into Gaza, but rather getting it to the right people in Gaza before Hamas and others steal it. So I'll also remind you that the ARs Crossing, we get a lot of questions about the ARs Crossing. The ARs Crossing until very recently was totally destroyed by the Hamas death squads that plowed through it on October 7th. It was totally destroyed. So if anything is to happen with the ARs Crossing, it'll first need to be rebuilt. And then, that could potentially be another asset to us in the array of ways in which we are channeling humanitarian aid to the people that need it while avoiding Hamas.
Thank you. Question from Jim Williams at Zenga International News Service, Washington, D.C. Avi, can you confirm that today was the largest number of aid trucks since the start of the war that went into Gaza?
Jim, not only can I confirm that, I'm pretty sure that I just said it. Play the tape. Absolutely. Yes, I can confirm that.
Thank you. Question from JP Rubin at BI. Does Prime Minister Netanyahu think that we should continue to pray for the release of hostages?
I think the people of Israel have been hoping and praying and working together and using all of the diplomatic channels to us available, while also keeping the pressure up on Hamas to release the hostages. You see, what we learned from the first major hostage release was that we have to approach it with a carrot and a stick, so to speak. We need to work together, to unite together, to stand together, and let the world not forget what happened on October 7th. Let the world not forget that Israeli hostages are being held against their will in the Hamas terror dungeons of Gaza. But at the same time, we need to use all diplomatic channels available to us. And also, we need to keep up the military pressure. The first time Hamas were on their knees, begging pleas for some respite. If Hamas doesn't feel the pressure from us, we have seen that they're not serious. They don't get serious about releasing the hostages. We will keep up the pressure. We will let Hamas know that we are coming for them, and at the same time, we will use all diplomatic channels available to us.
Thank you. That was the last question.
Thank you very much. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow.